Krishna dear devotees, wish you all happy Krishna conscious day and also happy Kamika Ekadashi. Please accept my humble obeisances. First to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. So I have no qualification to speak on the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Whatever I speak is just by the mercy of Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada and other acharyas with my little understanding. I seek blessings of all the Vaishnavas and dear Guru Maharaj and our Srila Prabhupada and our deity Sri Srimad Bhagavatam Chandra Prabhu, so I can speak something meaningful which is beneficial for everyone and also brings transformation in me. So with that, let's recite the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathantam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savathutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Loke Bhakti Bhavati Naistukim Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 19, titled The Killing of Demon Hiranyaksha, text 30. So, Deva Vuchahu Namo Namaste Akilaya Vipantave Titau Kritamala Sattva Murtaye Distya Toyam Jagatam Rantadas Tvatpada Bhaktya Vayamisha Nirvataha. Synonyms: Deva, the demigods. Uchuhu, said. Nama, obeisances. Nama, obeisances. Unto, te, unto you. Akhila Yajna Tantave, the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Stitav, for the purpose of maintaining. Grita, assume. Amala, pure. Sattva, goodness. Murtaye, form. Distya, fortunately. Hata, slain. I am this. Jagatam, to the worlds. Aruntadaha, causing torment. Tvatpada, to your feet. Bhaktya, with devotion. Vayam, we. Isha, O Lord. Nirvrataha, have attained happiness. Translation: the demigods address the Lord. All obeisances unto you. You are the enjoyer of all sacrifices, and you have assumed the form of boar in pure goodness for the purpose of maintaining the world. Fortunately for us, this demon who was a torment to the worlds, has been slain by you, and we too, O Lord, are now at ease in devotion to your lotus feet. Purport by His Divine Grace. Avacharna Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The material world consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. But the spiritual world is pure goodness. It is said here that the form of the Lord is pure goodness, which means that it is not material. In the material world, there is no pure goodness. In the Bhagavatam, the stage of pure goodness is called Sattvam Visuddham. Visuddham means pure. In pure goodness, there is no contamination by the two inferior qualities, namely passion and ignorance. Therefore, the form of the board in which the Lord appeared is nothing of the material world. There are many other forms of the Lord, but none of them belongs to the material qualities. Such forms are not different from the Vishnu form, and Vishnu is the enjoyer of all sacrifices. The sacrifices which are recommended in the Vedas are meant to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In ignorance only, people try to satisfy many other agents, but the real purpose of life is to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu. All sacrifices are meant to please the Supreme Lord. The living entities who know this perfectly well are called demigods. Godly or almost God. Since the living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, it is his duty to serve the Lord and please him. The demigods are all attached to the personality of Godhead, and for their pleasure, the demon, who was a source of trouble to the world, was killed. Purified life is meant to please the Lord, and all sacrifices performed in purified life are called Krishna consciousness. This Krishna consciousness is developed by devotional service, as clearly mentioned here. So, just to summarize and what's going on until now, before I go to the verse. So previously, the doorkeepers of Lord Vishnu, Jaya and Vijaya, were cursed by the four Kumaras, and after the conversation and the Lord's intervention, the curse was reduced, or it was accepted by Jaya and Vijaya to take three births as demons, and the Lord, and they would be killed by Lord before they return to the abode of the Lord. So, chapter 17 to 19 of this canto were explaining basically the Hiranyaksha, like Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, the birth and the fight between the Lord and Hiranyaksha, and the last one is the killing of Hiranyaksha. So, in the 17th chapter, basically they explain the birth of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and Hiranyaksha was conquered all the directions, and he approaches Lord Varuna and requests for a battle. And Lord Varuna, though Hiranyaksha is provoking Lord Varuna, he controls his anger and replies. He says, because grown old, so I'm desisting from the fightings, and suggests only Lord Vishnu would be able to fulfill your desire to have a war. So after hearing that, like in the chapter 18, Hiranyaksha enters into the Garbhodaka ocean, and when he enters and go to the lower planets, where the Lord, in the form of Varaha, is lifting the earth on his tusks. By seeing this, Hiranyakashipu a little bit agitated, and then he tells Lord, "Oh, this earth is being entrusted to the demons at the lower worlds, and you would not be able to take it without fighting with me." So, and then the fight starts between Lord Varaha and Hiranyaksha with the words. First, Hiranyaksha insults Lord, and then Lord gives the befitting reply back to Hiranyaksha, and then they start fighting. And towards the end of the chapter, Brahma suggests Lord to kill Hiranyaksha. And in chapter 19, there's a little bit elaborate explanation of the fight between Lord Varaha and Hiranyaksha. And finally, Hiranyaksha fell to ground when Lord hits him on his root of the ear. So that time, like this section where starts like the demigods will start praising the Hiranyaksha. I think the first two verses in the section were they were praising Hiranyaksha for his, like, because he was hit by the forefoot of the Lord, where which is praised or worshipped by the devotees and Vaishnavas, and they meditate upon. And also, he is lucky enough to see the face of the Lord while leaving his body. So with that, like, it's coming to the current text where the demigods start offering prayers to Lord, praising the Lord. So, and in this purport, like Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, like spiritual. It's said here that the form of the Lord is in pure goodness, which means that it is not material. In the material world, there is no pure goodness. In the Bhagavatam, the stage of pure goodness is called Sattvam Vishuddham. Vishuddham means pure. Same thing, like which is mentioned in the 5th chapter of same canto, the 29th verse, where so they were talking about how the false ego comes, and the translation which says Mahatattva, or the great visual truth, transforms into false ego, which is manifested in 3 phases: cause, effect, and the doer. As such, activities are on the mental plane and are based on the material elements, gross senses, and mental speculation. The false ego is represented in 3 different modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, with that, means we could understand, even though the goodness is available, mode of goodness is available in the material world, it is still tinged with false ego. Means it's not good enough for a devotee to liberate from this material world or cut the bondage of the modes of the material nature. So in the purport, Prabhupada mentioned like three, three different points. One is that the material creation is meant for the rebellious souls, where he defined the definition of false ego. So the material creation is meant for rebellious souls who are not prepared to accept subordination under the Supreme Lord. This spirit of false lordship is called false ego. And then later in the purport, I started explaining about how even mode of goodness or mode of passion and mode of ignorance are binding, are tied to false ego. The first thing talks about the mode of goodness. It's not exact thing, but it's a brief for me. Those who are in the mode of goodness without proper guidance might think Aham Brahmasmi is the highest plane to attain and laugh at one who is performing devotional service. Though they think they're the highest planet, but when they liberate from this world, they go and stay in the Brahmajyoti region, and after some time they have to fall back. So even a devotee who is in a lower state is better than a impersonal relation like poor product like a humble master state. And second one is like people who are in the mode of passion, they think themselves as the agents of the Lord to help other living entities who are suffering in this material world. So with that, like they involve in many altruistic activities like building hospitals or giving education or feeding the needy people and all those things. And the last one, people who are in the mode of ignorance, they are totally grossly attached to the body, and then they're always thinking about the sense enjoyment using the five senses. And the last point, what Prabhupada mentioned, is like to conclude that purport of 3529. All these persons are given the chance to play with the false egoistic ideas, but at the same time, the Lord is kind enough to give them a chance to take help from the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, so that they may understand the science of Krishna and thus make their lives successful. So the devotees or Vaishnavas who follow the scriptures understand that all these three modes are tinged with false ego, and all the sacrifices are for the enjoyment of Krishna. And the eternal nature of the soul is, as Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned, Jivara Swarupa in Krishna Das, that the living entity's eternal nature is to serve Krishna. So they try to serve Krishna in the mood of servant of servant of servant, dasan, dasan, das. So in order to check this weed of false ego, which spread all over our consciousness in some or the other, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us the instructions through Sikshastakam prayers to get free from this false ego and raise above the three modes which are on the material platform, like mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, tinged with the false ego. He gave us the the first words. Yeah. So in the first verse it says Cheto Dakkanamarjanam. So in that verse, like basically by chanting the Lord's names, we can cleanse the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguish the fire of the conditioned life. And the second one, the prayer, it says, I have no attachment, though Lord has given many names to chant and attain His love. Still, says we didn't have any attraction for them. And the third one, it says like Trinadapi Sungichana Taroreva Sahishnana Tarorapi Sahishnana Amanina Manadana Kirtaniya Sadahari. So this one of the main principle, like all the practicing Vaishnavas at least should follow, so that like the the weed of false ego will try to raise to the above and make fall down. So this one it says like thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. So if we can chant the names of the Lord in this mood, we can check the false ego. And the fourth one is another important one. Like I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotion service, birth after birth. So if we can imbibe like 3 and 4 in our lives and chant the holy name in this mode and render the service unto the devotees and the Lord in that mode, so we should be able to take the false ego, and when we perform devotional service in that mode, we should be able to free from those false ego and the 3 modes, and will be eligible to leave this material world. So with that I conclude, and please forgive me and correct me if I spoke anything incorrectly or misrepresented because of my limited knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for connecting this with Sixastakam verses. I mean, I was just thinking how these verses are. I mean, yeah, when you gave the title, I was just thinking about it, waiting for that thing. What is we are going to say? So, thank you so much. I think primarily we're talking about. I mean, the process is by chanting in that humble state of mind, as Lord Chaitanya instructed us, and then also at the same time not having those attachments in the given in the verse 4, right? I think that's how you're.
Yes, sir. So basically, yeah, even if one can raise on the material level of mode of goodness on the material level, that might not be really good enough. Like because if we look at like many yogis or others like who are not following the scriptures, right? So they also might be in the mode of goodness, but when they leave this body, so they might not be reaching the spiritual sky, or so they might get to the higher planets, but at some point, like even if they reach the Brahmasmi or Brahmajyoti, so still they have to come down. So even attaining to the mode of goodness is also not good enough. So we really have to transcend. So in order to transcend, like we need to get away from that like false ego. So I think in order to get to the false ego, so we need to act in that humble mood. So which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave in the 6 Ashtakam verses. Yeah. Thank you for that. Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Wish you all happy Kamika Ekadashi, and wish you all happy good Krishna conscious day ahead. Thank you. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Hare Krishna Prabhu.